Thanks for joining us on the Newsmaker on 560 Radio KMON. And as we know, the legislative session is in full swing, and Montana Farm Bureau Federation has been on hand from the start. And John, I guess I just want to kind of start in and just see where we are on a few things. And let's start what you're working on to this point.
Well, there's been several things. We've worked on a number of things. I think we're tracking somewhere around 300 bills. I think a couple good things have really come out of this session. I think we have an answer in House Bill 334 to some of our work comp concerns. As we see this now, what we've been told is upon passage or somewhere around July, it has the potential of reducing work comp rates initially by 20 to 25%, probably, maybe more. Then as we move on into some other things, implement some other things than that, it'll be even more. That moves Montana a little more into the realm of competing with our neighboring states as far as workers' compensation. So I think that's an excellent piece of legislation that come out, and we're very happy to see that happen. That was a huge issue for our members.
And that's really key for Montana, but it's also key for your members to stay on top of that, isn't it?
It is, and you know, keep an eye on House Bill 334. Make sure that we get it through. The governor, I think, is going to sign that. There was an agreement made with him, so yeah, it's a good thing. And the other thing is to keep following up on those safety trainings for the Ag Safety Program. That gives you an additional 4% discount. So it's a good program, and it saves our folks some money.
Mm-hmm. Now, John, I know you guys have been working diligently on the ditch bill. What happened there?
Well, it was a big disappointment for us. First off, there was, never any intent to do what it was portrayed as doing is gutting the stream access bill. In fact, it didn't even talk about stream access. Our concern was to define what a ditch is for recreational purposes and trying to keep people out of irrigation ditches. It got portrayed as being something that was going to stop fishing on every river in Montana, and that never was the intent. And I don't think that was the language. It just was portrayed that way. We were willing to amend that at the end and put in some things that organizations had agreed to on that, but they'd already printed the T-shirts, so we couldn't change that bill. So it was a disappointment for us. But we'll be back working with those same groups trying to come up with a definition of what an irrigation ditch is.
Mm-hmm. Another one that we had been reporting on here at KMON is the Taxation Bill. I believe it's House Bill 616. Where do we stand there, John?
Well, 616 started out as what we felt was an excellent bill. It addressed some concerns of members that the phase-in was done improperly on agricultural land. 616 ended up with a fiscal note of $31.9 million, which to us would seem to indicate that they made a $31.9 million mistake in taxing agricultural land and that they would owe that money back, and that was part of the bill that they would owe that back. We got it through the House committee. It had to go to Finance and Claims or Appropriations. When it got to Appropriations, they said, well, that's all well and good, but we don't have $31.9 million to pay back. So it was stripped down to simply changing the Ag Land Advisory Group, putting it to where two members are appointed by the House and Senate leadership. The governor has appointees on there. There's some other folks in there, but try and give a balanced group that would be able to take a good hard look at ag land appraisal. And so as far as some kind of monetary relief for folks that felt they got overcharged in taxes, that doesn't look like it's going to happen. We're going to try and get some things fixed. But as it sits right now, 616 merely creates the Ag Land Advisory Council the way it used to be about 6 or 7 years ago.
Mm-hmm. I know it's very important for our listeners and your members to stay involved. How do they do that, John?
Well, they need to keep contact with their legislators on this, and I think it's important for them now is to keep contact with those folks and let them know that they're not happy with the way, if they had increases in their ag land productivity, there's some questions on that, there's some questions on the phase-in. Keep the pressure on those legislators and the Department of Revenue and even your local tax folks, and if you think it's wrong, file an AB 26, get your taxes paid under protest, that sort of thing. We need to keep the pressure on, make sure they fix the problems that they have.
All right. Is there anything I'm not asking you, John, you'd like to pass along?
Well, we've worked on some other things that, eminent domain has been a huge issue for us during this session. Probably you couldn't find a more controversial subject that could divide, legislative political parties, legislatures, even organizations. I mean, we had House Bill 198, which was the one that would give the right of eminent domain to the Maddle line and the Misty line, which I'm not sure the Misty line ever had lost that. They are a public, utility. But we have a new creature on the horizon now in merchant lines, and we just don't. I'm not sure where they fit into this whole picture. We'd worked very hard with Representative Flynn on House Bill 240, trying to set up a process. Farm Bureau worked with some other ag organizations, and we decided the three things that we wanted to come up with if we were going to reform eminent domain was we wanted some kind of planning. Say this is where wind power may be, viable, where coal power would be viable. This is where natural gas power would be. These are the markets that these would go to as far as merchant lines. And this is the corridors. That way people are not surprised when the landman knocks on their door. The second part of that was process. We wanted to have a black and white process of when they made certain offers, how long you had to respond, how long negotiations could go on before they go to condemnation, when appraisals could be done. We wanted some definite process, and that would have been House Bill 240. And then we wanted some ongoing compensation. These lines are going to be there for a long, long time, and people have to deal with them for a long time, and there needs to be some kind of ongoing compensation, and that's what our members wanted. The compensation part was thrown into a study bill, Senator Peterson's, I think it's SJ 21. That's a study bill. We're going to try and get some planning in that as well. Process bill, that kind of unfolded. It got to a point where Representative Flynn didn't like his own bill. He moved a do not pass on that, and they voted with him on that. Now, there is another bill that's coming through with some process language in it, Senator Esmond, but quite truthfully at this point in the game, that's a long shot to get a piece of legislation introduced this late through.
John, I appreciate you spending some time with us. I know you're very busy, and we look forward to kind of talking to you as we start to wrap up this year's session and stay on top of what you guys are working on.
Well, I appreciate the call. Thanks.
You betcha so much. John Youngberg, our special guest from the Montana Farm Bureau Federation on the Newsmaker.